Welcome back, tech friends. Today we are back with another PC build. This time round an MATX purely focused 1440p high refresh gaming PC. We can also dabble a little bit at low settings in 4K. It's going to be perfect for those content creators that are doing any video editing or Photoshop or anything like that with this 5070 Ti and its 16GB worth of VRAM. For CPU intensive tasks, the 9800 X3D with its 8-core 16-threaded CPU, it's going to tear through those, allowing you to change all your in-game settings as well. We're going to be focusing it around the B850 chipset, calling it a little bit different. Without an all-in-one, we're going with this Peerless Assassin digital CPU cooler, an 850 watt ATX 3.1 PSU with 32 gigs worth of DDR5 at 6,000 megatransfers per second, and last but not least, this 7100 from WD Black 2TB Gen 4 NVMe, all housed in this Phanteks XTM3 Micro ATX case. If you like these builds, guys, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's do it. Motherboard first, CPU, RAM and storage. All the rest of this we can get rid of. This is the Sapphire Nitro B850M Wi-Fi. So AM5 socket, B850 chipset. Let's get it out. Let's have a quick look. Not come across one of these before. Nice beefy heat sinks across our VRMs there. And again, nice M.2 shield. 4 RAM slots. USB Type-C, USB Type-3, our 24-pin power delivery up there. We've also got 2 8-pin EPS, integrated I/O shield, BIOS update button or BIOS flashback button there. On first impressions, guys, it's quite a nice little board. Right, we'll place this in the safest place, which is on top of our motherboard box. We'll turn our attention to the Ryzen 7 9800 X3D. I love building new systems. We'll open up our socket, fold it open. We just want to make sure our triangle matches our triangle on our socket. Gently lower it down into place. Wiggle, wiggle. Lower that down. Retention arm placed back and that should pop out. Keep hold of that. Onto our RAM. This is DDR5 from Crucial. 32 gigabytes, 6,000 megatransfers at CL36. So this is our Crucial DDR5 Pro. And all we want to do, guys, we want it in slots A2 and B2. So we can put this one in either side. And again, slot 2. Until you hear those clicks. Onto our 7100 or SN7100 from WD Black, 2TB drive up to 7250 megabytes per second. We're going to remove our shield here, so 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Once they're undone, we can remove that. Now we have got 2 M.2 drives in here. The top one is our Gen 5x4 lanes. This bottom one is Gen 4x4. We're actually still going to put this at 7100 in this top lane, so 25-degree angle, slot it in. We can return our catch or just move it around, push it down, and then we can lock that into place. What we need to do is make sure that we are removing our film on the back of our thermal shield. Then we can pop that back in place and we can return the 4 screws. We can do this little peel. So in the space of, I would say, about 3 minutes, guys, CPU, RAM, M.2, all installed. Time to get the motherboard into the case. So the case choice is this Phanteks XTM3. Relatively nice and small form factor case, guys, when it comes to MATX. By all means, not the smallest, but it's a nice little alternative to having a mid-tower. Takes up far less room if you've not got it on your desk, and if you've only got a little cubby or something like that, as long as you put it on a raised platform, this could actually go under it without any issues. One of the really things I like about this case is it can house 9 120mm fans. The other thing is it's quite clever actually, because underneath this top panel here The actual power supply goes at this end instead of typically right back here where they normally go in either a normal case or a dual chamber case. So I'm going to look forward to seeing how that actually works. And then we've got an extension kettle lead which is there, which still allows us to plug it in as we normally would at the back. So I'm going to break this down and we'll get a motherboard installed. We need to undo this little screw which will allow us to take the back panel off. Then that should just pull out. There we go. We've got another screw here holding our glass panel on. Then this can be pulled off. And then if you wanted to remove the front panel, you can pull from the front and that removes our mesh filter, which is going to nicely diffuse the very small amount of RGB that we've got in this case. So these front two intake fans here are RGB, and then we've also got this rear exhaust fan which is also RGB. Now, I didn't put these parts together, guys. This is from a local subscriber that said, do you want to build this computer for me? I'll drop all the parts off for you. I said, yeah, no problem. I'll do it free of charge like I do for everybody. So if you're located here in the UK, and you can either drop the parts off to me or you can actually come here and do it with me, then I will build your system for free. On to the next important step. We can actually remove another film. This is also the perfect time to install your IO shield into your case if it's not already pre-installed. Be careful when installing your motherboard. You don't want to drag it across the actual standoffs. Really important that you just take your time on this bit. Make sure that it's nicely located and it sits on that center pin. It's not going anywhere. We can take our included screws. These don't need to be over tightened, just to make sure they've got nice contact with those grounding pins. And we'll go all the way around, making sure that all 8 or 9 screws are nicely installed. Now that we've got all of our cables untangled from the back here, we can pop that mess back into there. And what we should be left with is we've got our 2 front fans which are daisy chained together. So we've got one 4-pin PWM cable. We've got another 5-volt 3-pin cable, which is our front 2 fans, and that's also daisy chained to our rear RGB fan. And then we've got another PWM cable for our rear fan as well. So really straightforward. These will go onto a 4-pin PWM, and that will be controlled via our motherboard software 3-pin 5-volt addressable connection as well. So now I'm going to just route them now, and I'm going to connect to any cables that I can connect right now so that I can route the cables to get a really nice clean aesthetic, and it tidies up the room for the PSU as well. First cable we're going to connect is our USB 3. We do have a little notch on this. We want to make sure it's orientated the correct way, and we're just going to push that into this connector here, and then we can push the excess back into the bottom or the side of our case. Next up is our USB type C. It's going into this connection here. Next up is our rear fan. We need to provide it with power, so we can connect that onto any of our 4-pin PWM headers. Then we've got our HD audio. Just look at the bottom where the blank is, and that's going over here on this bottom left hand corner. We've then got another 4-pin PWM which can go on this one just next to our other fan. We've then got our 3-pin 5-volt cable that can go onto our 3-pin header, and last but not least our front panel cable, which just goes onto this connection here, which is our JFP1. I always like to get those cables all connected. When we get a power supply in, there's lots more cables that are floating around and it's easy to miss one. So if you get them all connected now, there's less complications when you've got your power supply in. I think the next step is we're going to get our CPU cooler installed, and you may ask, why didn't I do that outside of the case? Well, there's plenty of room in here, and in all honesty I can't foresee any problems, so I thought, why not change it up and install it whilst it's in the case. If we come across any problems, you'll know to obviously rewind and do it outside of the case. Hopefully we don't have any issues. On to our peerless Assassin 120 digital black. Pretty nice this, guys. Not used it before, but it's obviously going to give us a digital display and output for our CPU, GPU. It's 125 by 110 by 162 high, so we should have no issues with regards to that. It's a double fan CPU tower cooler, and yeah, 4-pin PWM, and it's got a fluid dynamic bearing in terms of the fans. So excited to actually have a look at this one, to be honest. What do we get inside? Well, we get our 2 fans, and we get our CPU tower cooler. Thermalright are making some amazing products at the minute. Very, very affordable products. And in all honesty, guys, from a value perspective, it's unbelievable. And there we have it. We'll have 1 fan on here. We'll have another fan inside here. And that will direct the airflow through these 2 fin stacks, helped via this rear exhaust fan. Won't have any problems cooling this 9800 X3D with that, will we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 heat pipes. Wow. To install this cooler, we need to take off these 2 screws on top and bottom. So we'll unscrew those. I would highly suggest though, guys, that you don't throw these clips away just in case your new cooler does require them. But we'll take that one off, and then that can just be easily removed. We'll do the same for the bottom. Next step is we're going to take our 4 little spacers here, and we're going to pop those over each corner. We're then going to take 1 and 2 brackets, and we're going to install them identically like that. So what we want to do, guys, is I'm just going to take my screwdriver here, pop a screw in, and then I'm just going to pop that in there like so. A few turns, and then I'm going to do the same with this one, and then I'm going to tighten those up, and then the same for this one. Drop those 2 screws in, tighten one up, and then the other one. And what you should be left with now is these 2 brackets facing together, and you've got a standoff on either side. And what's going to happen here is these 2 things here, these 2 screws just on the side, are going to screw directly onto those 2 posts. Tried and true MX6 from Arctic. There we are, we've smothered that all around quite nicely. We need to peel off our plastic off the bottom, and then we can lower that down onto our standoffs, and we can go ahead and tighten one side by pressing down, and then moving to the other side until that is nicely bottomed out. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to feed both of these fans into our splitter cable, and then this one can go in here as well. That means we're providing power to both of those. We want to put our clips in place, so all we've got to do is put one side in and then the other side in. And we could do the exact same on this side. 1 and 2. And all that's going to happen then, guys, is we're going to pop it on the side of the fan. We want to make sure that we're looking at the actual fan, so when it blows, it's blowing air through the actual fin stack. So it's going to go like that, and we're just going to pull on either side to lock it into place. And a really important feature of this, guys, is obviously the height of the ram is absolutely perfect. So the customer's obviously done quite a bit of due diligence, because it's not quite touching that ram, but there's probably a millimetre in between the bottom of the fan and the actual ram itself. This second fan is really important. Again, make sure that your cable's coming out at the bottom down here. We don't want it going against this fan, so it's really, really important that, again, we've got the fan blowing air this way, when we can slide it in, and then we can pull these clips across, and then that's our mammoth in terms of cooler nicely installed. Last but not least is our digital display that can sit magnetically on top of there. That's going to feed back into the back of the case, round the back, and it's going to connect to our USB 2.0 header, so we can control this digital display. Last important thing is our 2 fans on our CPU need to go on to our CPU header, which is this one just here. And then we can just hide these cables. push them into the back. We'll connect our USB 2 to our USB 2 header. So I've just done a little bit of cable management, guys. Essentially, we've got all of the cables running down the center there, hidden in the back here, and then down through to our connections on the front of our motherboard. 3 little zip ties, nothing OTT, but keeps it nice and clean and tidy. Let's get our power supply installed. So our power supply of choice is this Phanteks AMPGH850. 80 plus gold rated, ATX 3.1, PCIe 5.1. You've got the latest gen of hardware here. It's 850 watts, guys. Going to be more than enough to power this 5070 Ti. Comes with that peace of mind that it's gold tested and gold rated, and obviously being ATX 3.1, it comes with the 12 volt 2x6 power connector. That's not a bad little looking power supply, in all honesty. There's our 12 volt 2x6 connector. We've got our motherboard connections, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 pins for our PCIe, and 3 6 pins for SATA or Molex as well. On the back, just a simple on-off switch. Let's get this installed. We'll need our 4 screws. Comes with nice little bunch of cable cones. Oh, this is nice. They've got like braided cables. Really impressed with this quality of these cables though, guys. These look really, really nice. They're individually sleeved. The 24 pin comes with these ones already pre-done. 2x6 cable, 12 volt cable, as 3 already installed here as well. And then the CPU ones, I'm probably just going to put 1 or 2 on these ones because they include them. And I think that's really, really good that Phanteks has been actually already given us those. I think it'll look a little bit nicer, gives the aesthetic of having cable extensions without the additional expense as well. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to put some of these on here, and then we'll hook all the cables up. Onto our power supply installation. So what we need to do for our 24 pin, we've got our larger connector which goes in this one here. Push it all the way in, and then we've got our secondary connector which goes into here. Make sure that you get those nice clicks and that is all the way in. For our 12 volt 2x6 cable, you obviously take the other end that doesn't have our nice clips on, and we're going to push that into our 12 volt connector which is up here. Make sure that you've got your sense pins and all of your connectors the correct way. We want to make sure that that's pushed in. And again, nice, lovely click, and that's nice and secure. Because we've got a 9800X3D and we've got 2 8-pin EPS connectors on this motherboard, I want to make sure that both are connected. We're going to connect them up top here. So one can go in here, and then the second one can go right next to it, just there. To make our power supply installation a little bit easier, I'm just going to remove this little screw. This can be removed, which then gives us all of our mess, but hides it nicely. Really important, guys, that the fan is facing outwards. We don't want it against this back panel here. We'll starve it of air and you'll probably incur some problems. So what we're looking to do is place this inside of our case. Push it all the way up, make sure that we're not trapping any cables. We can take our 4 screws and we can go ahead and secure our power supply in place. Whilst we're here, we can plug in our kettle lead. And now we can start routing our cables to the correct places. So we need 2 of our EPS down here. We need our graphics card through here, and then we need our 24 pin through here. We're going to now install our 2 8-pins onto our 2 clips just down here. And there we have it, guys. We've got our 2 EPS cables down this side. We can pop back our little cover, and that's not looking too bad, guys. We can pop in our 24 pin. There's the back, guys, now that we've cable managed it. We've also got our 3 fans installed at the top. I think it's just going to add a little bit more exhaust, obviously, other than just this rear exhaust fan. It fills out the case a little bit better. I wish they were all RGB, the same as these 3 that are already installed. I don't think we're going to have an issue with regards to the one at the bottom. This 5070 Ti, it's a triple fan card. That's going to pull fresh air from the bottom of the case. I think we're going to be good. Let's get on to the more important thing, graphics card. And that one is the Zotac 5070 Ti, and this is the solid SFF one, guys. So really nice graphics card, 5070 Ti, 16 gigs worth of GDDR7 VRAM. You're going to obviously benefit massively from DLSS 4.0 and frame gen and all that other AI stuff. That being said, let's get out the graphics card, get it installed. To gaming and beyond. We aren't going to need our splitter cables. I think this is a GPU sag bracket. It is. That's quite a nice little touch. We might add that in. Woo! Nice little metal back plate. 3 fan design. We've got our 3 display ports and our HDMI output, and then our 12 volt 2x6 connector, which is there. So let's get it installed. So we want slots 1 and 2 removing. We can remove our cover. We'll remove these. Make sure our PCIe slot is open. Line it up, and then a firm push down till you hear that click. Woo! My favorite click. What we're going to do now is we're just going to replace our 2 screws to hold our graphics card in place. We can then clip that in, making sure it's all the way in, like so. We can no longer see any of the green bits. Access can be pulled through to the back of the case. Slide in our GPU sag bracket, and we're nearly there, guys. I'm just going to pull these cables through to the front, and we're going to do a test boot. See what this looks like. First boots. Was there ever any doubt? We're straight through to the BIOS. So there we have it, guys. I would have loved to have had 6 more RGB fans in, but I think the subscriber did a really good choice in terms of putting all his funds into that GPU and CPU. He's going to get some hell of a FPS out of this particular system, especially at 1440p. And like I said, if you are doing anything like video editing or Photoshop or anything like that, it's going to be no slouch, guys. 8-core, 16-threaded CPU. That's 16 gigs worth of VRAM on that 5070 Ti. You're not going to have any problems whatsoever. And gaming at 1440p, or you can play at max settings without any issues. And if you wanted to dabble in 4K, it's going to be able to do that as well. So let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Is this a system that you'd look to actually build? I actually like this XTM3 case. I think it was pretty easy to actually build in. Cable routing was pretty seamless. You got plenty of room at the back for cable management. It can obviously house 9 of these 120mm fans and a 360mm all-in-one at the top as well. Graphics cards not going to have any issues. Even with the biggest 4090, it's going to fit in here perfectly without any issue. Just need to download the Thermalright software so we can get this digital display working properly. We're going to go through and we're going to upload the latest chipset, the BIOS, the graphics drivers, make sure that it's all configured perfectly to get the most out of this CPU-GPU combination. Let me down below, are you planning on building a new system with the Black Friday sales next week? I'd love to hear what systems you're planning on building. If you're located here in the UK and you want your system building for free, whether you need some help on parts or whether you've got the parts and you just want someone to build it, or you want to build it with me, send me an email, hit me up on Instagram, something like that. I'm more than happy to help as many of you as I can. If you haven't done already, smash that like button. Happy holidays upcoming. Happy building for anyone that's planning on building any systems, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.